Are you still trying to decide whether to set up social media accounts for your business? Maybe you're thinking that with so many businesses already out there, there's really not much point. Or perhaps you already have social accounts set up, but are struggling to run them and can't see the benefit of carrying on. You're frustrated with the low reach and low engagement, and it just all feels pointless. The truth is, social media isn't a quick fix. It takes time, lots of time, and a clear strategy to get it right. But once you do, the potential for growth is limitless, which is why I am dedicating the first solo episode of Show Up and Be Heard to the why we need to show up on social media, to give us that dose of motivation to carry on and remind us that it is worth it. Not only is it worth it, it's something we need to be doing. But before we dive in, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to tune in to Show Up and Be Heard and to tune in to the first ever episode. This is so exciting. I can't tell you how long I have waited for this point and how much hard work has gone into it. So thank you so much. The podcast exists to help women like you simplify your business and your life so that you can stop feeling so overwhelmed. I'm your host, Becky McAvoy, owner and founder of Be Heard Socials, and I am an award-winning social media marketer and international speaker who specialises in content strategy and organic growth on social media. So if you want to cut through the noise and BS and get practical, actionable advice tailored specifically to make social media marketing accessible and easy to understand, or if you want to be part of a supportive community where women entrepreneurs can feel connected and inspired to achieve their dreams, then keep listening because you are in the right place. To be the first to find out when new episodes go live and to get more tips like the one you hear in this podcast, make sure you join my email community through the link in the show notes. Right then, let's get started with the very first episode. So when I was planning out the solo episodes for the first season of Show Up and Be Heard, I thought for quite a while about what the very first episode should be because it needed to be important. And as you'll have already heard, I am today going to be talking about why you need to show up on social media. And the reason I went with this first is because it's a really big part of who I am and what I do. If you're anything like me, you want to know the why behind things. I will talk about the what and the how and all of that kind of stuff. And all of that is really important. But if I don't know the why, I can lose interest very quickly. Knowing the why helps it stick in my brain longer, and it helps me be motivated at times that I have fallen out of love with whatever it might be that I'm doing. It's a bit like exercise, right? I need to remind myself why I need to exercise, and sometimes that can help me keep going. So this whole episode is going to be talking about why you need to show up on social media. And I think it's particularly apt right now because I am seeing a lot of frustration out there that people aren't getting the reach that they used to, the engagement's low, and there are ways around that, and future episodes will talk about the what and how you can overcome that. But I get it. The frustration is real. Instagram's making a lot of changes. Lots of people are feeling like it's a pay to play. So, you know, if you're not paying for ads or verification or whatever it might be, that you've got no chance of being seen. And honestly, my experience is that that's just not true. So yeah, like I said, I love to know the why. I know most of the people that I work with love to know the why. So this episode is all about why you need to show up on social media. And I think it's a really good one to kick off with. But before we get stuck in, I really want to reassure you, you don't have to be on all the platforms. And you don't need to have thousands of followers. Whilst that's lovely, you don't have to have all of that. You have to have the right ones. So over this episode, I'm going to share with you some key reasons social media is important for your business. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll be feeling motivated and maybe less frustrated that it is worth your time. So the very first one I think that's really important is that social media adds credibility to businesses. I think these days consumers expect businesses to have a social media presence. And in fact, if you don't have one, it can raise some red flags in a potential customer's mind. So I know that most of the businesses I want to work with, or, you know, if I'm looking for something, I'm looking for a particular product or a service and someone recommends someone, my instinct is to go referral, because obviously that is, you know, the best recommendation, isn't it? Someone that's used you before. And I hear lots of people say this when they say, oh, I get all my referrals through word of mouth, so, you know, social media isn't worth it. I don't think that's true, because the very first thing I do, and I don't know if you do the same, I'd love to know, do drop me a message if you are like this. When somebody recommends somebody, so say for example, I don't know, like a hairdresser or a class for my kids to go to or whatever it might be, the first thing I do is go and check out their social media. And that might be to ask them a question, to DM them, to find out how much stuff costs. To book or whatever it might be, but I go and check out their social media, especially if it's something like I said earlier, like a hairdresser. I want to go and know that, okay, this person said they're good, but I want to go and see what some of their work looks like. If it's a fitness class I might be going to, I want to go and see what that involves and what that looks like. So the first thing I do is check out their social media, even if I'm looking for a word of mouth recommendation. And if I go and they haven't posted in 3 months or however long it might be, or they just look inactive, the very first thing that I do is I question whether the business is still operating or not. Are they still open? 9 times out of 10, they probably are. Some of them might have closed down, but I can be really put off really quickly if I can't see anything, or it looks like they're closed, or the information is just really out of date. And I will talk about this probably in a future episode, about things that you can do, because it doesn't mean that you have to be posting constantly. I suppose that's something I want to say, is I'm not saying to show up on social media you have to be on there all the time, but you have to look like you're open. So being on social media will add credibility. Active social media accounts send out a positive message about your business. They show that you're operating, that you're in touch with your customers, and that you have lots and lots to shout about, which is really important. And it stops those red flags from being raised. So like I said, we will dig into this in future episodes, but I'm not saying that you have to post every day so that people know you're open, but you just have to make sure that the last thing that you've posted shows that you're open. And if you're not very active on there, because for whatever reason that might be, and again, we will explore this all through this podcast, exactly what it's set up to be. It's not about a one size fits all and telling you exactly how you should do stuff. It's talking about it fitting around you. So if you are the kind of business that isn't going to be active on there, as in posting every day or 3 times a week or whatever it might be, you need to be really clear in your bios or your latest posts or things like that of how people can contact you and that you are still open. So yeah, social media as a start point is important because it adds credibility and it shows that you're open. Another thing that it does is it increases your brand awareness. So if customers can't find you on social media, like I just said, like just now, quite simply, they can't connect with you or buy from you. So, they might go to your website and they might go to Google, but lots of the research is showing people are using social media as search engines and as search platforms. And if someone's being recommended to them or they're searching someone out, they're looking on social media. So it's a brilliant way to increase your brand awareness. And when approached strategically, social media offers you endless opportunities to grow your reach and connect with new audiences, which is so important as a business. So I guess, very simply put, having an active social presence builds brand awareness and it keeps you at the forefront of your customers and your potential customers' minds. So yeah, they may seem like quite obvious ones, but I think they are worth reminding ourselves of. Social media adds credibility and it increases your brand awareness. And that is always a good thing, isn't it? So the next thing it does, which is wonderful, is it builds know, like, and trust amongst your customers and your potential customers. So whether you're active on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, X, or LinkedIn, your social platforms are a chance for customers to get to know you and understand your brand values. In short, the more regularly you show up online and help your followers to overcome their problems, the more you will earn their trust and loyalty, the more they will get to know you. They'll get to know the face behind the brand. And we all know, I'm sure we've all been told at some point, or if we don't, it's well worth saying that people buy from people. So that's a really great thing. And social media offers you an incredible way to do that. So just, I don't know, a few ideas of how you can, how it builds know, like, and trust, to put this into practical terms for you. When you post pictures of you, which I know lots of people don't like doing, but is very important. But when you post pictures of you and your team, it builds familiarity, which helps in building the know around your business. In terms of the like, if you create content that solves your followers' problems, it's going to help people like you. It's going to help you become the go-to person that they want to speak to. If they know that you have helped them with a problem in the past, depending on what your niche is and what your business is, at a point in the future where they might need your services or the product that you offer, they're more likely to have you in the forefront of their mind, because they like you, because you've helped them in the past. So yeah, posting pictures of you and your team builds familiarity, which helps with the know. Creating content that solves your followers' problems helps with the like, and trust. Trust is a very important one. So when you are honest and consistent with your messaging, you build the trust, and people learn to know that they can rely on you, and that you do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, that you answer DMs and all that kind of stuff. It can really help build the trust. And there's lots of content that you can create as well that will help build the trust. So things like testimonials or social proof, for example, of messages that customers have sent you or clients have sent you. There's loads of content that you can put out there that builds trust as well. And again, I will speak about that in a future episode in more depth. But quite simply, being honest and consistent with your messaging in itself on social media will help build the trust. So that is, again, always a good thing when you're a business, and helps you get not only new customers and new clients, but repeat customers and repeat clients as well. And that word of mouth that we spoke about earlier, it makes people want to go out and shout about you and share what you do as well. So another thing that social media can do and is wonderful for, and is a brilliant reason why you need to show up, is it increases your leads and sales. So if that's not a reason to get involved, I don't know what is. Loads of people, like I said earlier, are using social media as a search engine now, and it's a brilliant way to discover new products whilst just hanging out on the app. People might not be on there to buy from businesses, but seeing stuff come up, they find new products or they find new services, and they find what they might need. So it's a great way to increase and generate leads and sales. But that's not all. The ever-changing social landscape means that new audiences and opportunities are opening up all the time as well. And like I said, people of all ages more and more are using social media, and they are using it in the same way that we used to use Google, or we used to use other methods to find what we were looking for. So I don't know about you, but I know that when I'm organising my kids' birthday parties, I will go to sites like Pinterest or Instagram, where I can see visual stuff and get ideas from it. And even actually, if I'm going to Google, a lot of what it directs me to is Pinterest articles and things like that. So it's a brilliant way to generate leads. And on a similar kind of note, it's a brilliant way to drive traffic to your website, because I'm not going to pretend. I've spoken about how the first thing I do is go and check out a business on social media. I'm not going to pretend that websites don't matter. Of course they do, but people need to be able to find your website. Now, there's some brilliant ways of doing that, obviously, outside of social media, and utilizing SEO, so search engine optimization and all things like that, and Google, etc. However, one of the best ways to drive traffic to your website is also social media. It offers brilliant ways to get people from scrolling in their sort of social time and their spare time onto your website, or whatever it might be, wherever it could be apps like Becci, for example, if you're trying to get people to book things. But whatever it is, it's a great way of driving traffic there, because you can put clickable links in captions, for example, on Facebook and LinkedIn, or you can use your link in bio on Instagram, or you can use a link sticker on Instagram, for example. You can even use chatbots now, so that if somebody comments a particular word or an acronym, and again, this could be a brilliant episode for the future, so let me know if you'd find this interesting, because I've just started doing this, but where someone comments on your post and they get sent a link to their DMs to be able to go through and check out what you're talking about. So yeah, it's a brilliant way. You need to know that you're putting the links in the right place. One of my pet peeves is when people put links in their caption on Instagram, and And I get it. You're trying to get your link everywhere, but the majority of users on platforms like Instagram are on their phone, and the link isn't clickable in a caption. So you want to make sure you're sending them somewhere they can click. And once you've got that right, and like I said earlier, once that's approached strategically, it's a brilliant way to get people onto your website. You can post links to blogs and product pages. And also you can obviously, I am focusing on organic growth. So that is where you're not paying for advertising, but you can also put links and direct people, if you are paying for advertising, to your website in your paid adverts as well. So the next point I'm going to come into, I'm not going to say it's the most important because it's probably not, but it's up there. And I guess it's probably a harsh truth or a reality check maybe for you. Your competitors are on social media. So if you are sick of seeing them crushing it, then it's time to get serious about showing up yourself. Your social media platforms are the perfect place to show off your business's personality and let people see what sets you apart from all the others. So lots of people say to me, which is really lovely, for example, when they join my membership, the Boss Your Socials Club, is that the thing that attracted them to come to the membership was my vibe and my energy. And the reason they know my vibe and my energy is because I show up on my social media. And like I said, all of the different platforms have got different features of how you can do this. And it's just a brilliant way to get your personality across. And again, coming back to that point of people buy from people. So that is super important that you show the face behind the brand and the people behind the brand. So don't give your competitors the upper hand because you don't know where to start, or you're lacking confidence to show up. You want to get serious about getting on there. And you have taken your first step to doing that today because you are listening to this podcast. And over the course of this first season and all future seasons, I will be giving you tips and advice of how to do it. So you have taken your first step. So as a pat yourself on the back for that, and keep tuning in. Make sure you hit subscribe and listen to future episodes of tips and advice of how to do it and how to do the practical things, but also the confidence around doing it as well. So yeah, your competitors are there and you need to get there as well. So, okay, I told you I've got lots of points in here. I'm so excited about all of them. There's so many reasons to show up on social media. And my next point is probably one of my favorites. Social media is a brilliant way to build community. I honestly think this is one of the most exciting things about social media being accessible to us. It allows us to build a community of like-minded people anywhere in the world. And that is incredible. Like, obviously, if your business is based locally and people can only use you locally, then that becomes a different strategy. But for lots of businesses, that's not the case. And it's never a bad thing because you don't know where your business is going to go in the future. To build an audience that's global, or across the UK or across whatever country you're in, but it could be global. I have got followers from all over, and now as a result in my membership, I have members who are in Arizona, who are in Canada. Shout out to the amazing Shannon and the amazing Aboying, who are from Arizona and Canada. And I have had members from Germany. I've had them from Sweden and Switzerland. It's incredible. And that wouldn't have happened without social media, because I've been able to connect with those people. So when you put out clear and consistent messaging about your brand, you'll attract new customers who will be happy to share your story. And that's where you really start to build community. Those same followers can provide you with invaluable insights into the products and services you provide, so that you can give them and other people like them more of what they want. So like I said, even if they're not necessarily going to buy from you, they can become your biggest cheerleaders, and you can really learn from them. Like, my membership came out of a gap that I saw that small businesses just weren't getting, and that they couldn't afford. Like, so my membership is aimed at people who can't afford to outsource their social media, who can't afford to implement most of the advice that's given to them. And I learned that through spending a lot of time on social media, connecting with my audience. So it is brilliant. So yeah, it's a brilliant way to build community. But like I said, not just to sell, just to cheer each other on and celebrate each other, and just make a business a little bit less lonely, which is an amazing thing in itself. So yeah, it's all in the name, isn't it? Social media, which again will probably be a future episode because this is something I'm very passionate about, but was designed to be social on. So yeah, use it to build that community of people who love and adore you and your business. Another brilliant thing about social media is that it can position you as a thought leader. So through clever, well-planned content, And again, taking that strategic approach, social media allows you to establish yourself as a leader in your field, which is wonderful. So how do you do that? Well, let me give you a few ideas of what that might include. It might be posting things like how-to videos. It might be going live on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn even, and talking about your thoughts on the latest development in your industry or your sector, and showing that you really know your stuff, you know what you're talking about. It could be posting tips and tricks and hack posts and things like that. It could be showing behind the scenes photos and videos to show how much love and care and work goes into what you do. It might be sharing industry news, like I said, and that could be through lives or it could be through your posts. It can be through engaging with other people in your industry or in your sector as well, and offering help and advice in groups on Facebook, for example, without selling your products or services, just going in and showing yourself as the person who is helpful and knows their stuff. And again, like we touched on earlier, you become that go-to person when someone needs what you sell. Like, oh, that person was super helpful. I'm going to go and ask them for some help. So yeah, it's a brilliant way to position yourself as a thought leader and really show your expertise and be the go-to person that people come to when they need you. Now, I'm only going to speak about this very briefly because this next point is about having access to social ads and paying for advertising. Now, that isn't what I do, and this isn't what that podcast is about. We will have future interviews with people who do run ads because it's a brilliant way. And really, when you get to the point to be able to scale to ads, it's great to run hand in hand with your organic stuff. So that is I'm not going to call it free stuff because no marketing is free. It takes our time, but to run hand in hand with the non-paid ad stuff. But just being on social media gives you access to social media ads. Now, I haven't ever really run social media ads myself, I will be honest, for lots of reasons, but I also haven't really been in a position to. I have trained, I know how to run social media ads, and I have run an ad in the past, and it's been brilliant and it's worked really well. I'm just not in the position to do that right now. I'm all about being transparent and honest. But if you do want to advertise on social media, then it's a great place to do it, and being on there gives you that access to it. However, it's not a replacement for doing it organically. Like ads on their own won't just get you massive success. You need an organic social media presence too, because social media advertising offers incredible target opportunities to businesses like ours. But having active and engaged accounts is crucial to their success as well, for the points that I raised earlier, in terms of if you're running ads and someone comes through to your page and it's completely inactive, then they're going to start to question that a little bit. So paid social isn't a standalone marketing option. In order to make it a success, you need to have all your ducks in a row. But like I said, I'm not going to talk about that in that much detail because it's not my area of expertise. If you would be interested in me getting someone on to talk about paid ads, I will happily do that. I know some brilliant people who do social media advertising, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in it because I'm not. However, it is another fantastic thing about social media is you get access to that, and that can grow your reach exponentially when you do things like that. So we're going to end on a really lovely one. This is my final point that I'm going to share with you today. Social media, why should you show up? Well, it's a brilliant way. It is a fantastic place to shout about your success stories and share your customer stories. So yeah, just shout about your successes. And the very next solo episode is going to be about my boss framework, which is how to create your content. And in that, the first S stands for show off, and I'll go into that in a lot more detail. But it's a brilliant way to show off, and as women-owned businesses, I think it's something we find particularly difficult, but you absolutely should be doing this on social media, and it is a brilliant avenue to be able to do it. Sharing reviews, testimonials, video interviews with happy clients and customers really helps to reassure that you can help solve the person looking at your content's problems too. So yeah, it's just a brilliant way to do that, and you really should be showing off. I'm not going to go into massive detail about this now, partly because these solo episodes are meant to be bite-sized episodes to give you things to go away and do, but also because the very next solo episode is going to be talking about my boss framework. So I hope that has given you some food for thought, maybe made you feel a little bit more motivated. There were some ideas in there of how you can do things, but like I said, the main thing about this episode to kick off my brand new podcast, was really settling in with that why, to remind you that yes, it's frustrating, yes, it can be difficult, yes, it's a nightmare that it can change constantly, but it's worth it. It's worth showing up. And by listening to this podcast, and if you want to sign up to my email list, where the link is in the show notes, you'll get all the, I do the hard work for you. I will tell you about the updates and all of that kind of stuff. And all you need to do is focus on getting it done and showing up. I get though that, so you now know why you need to show up, but you might still be feeling a bit overwhelmed because social media is overwhelming. It can be a minefield. First off, I want to say on that, don't worry, that's totally normal. Marketing a business on social media is no easy feat. And I am saying that as someone who does it for a living, especially when there's so much conflicting advice from experts out there. And sometimes from people who aren't experts but proclaim themselves to be experts. There's a lot of BS out there. And that is exactly why I launched this podcast, because I wanted to cut through that noise and make it easy and accessible for you. I wanted to make it simple. So if you enjoyed this episode, please keep listening, because there's going to be lots of information on some of the real basics of social media and how to set up. And some of the things that you need to be doing on there. I'm going to make it easy and simple for you. And it's going to be mixed in with interviews with incredible women who will inspire you to show up as well. So I am so excited for the rest of the season. I'm so excited for the podcast as a whole. And I am so, so thankful to you for tuning in to the first episode. So now you know why you need to show up. Please subscribe to this podcast, continue listening, and you will find out the what and the how as well. Thank you so much for listening to Show Up and Be Heard, but please don't go without telling me your name. I genuinely love meeting new people and making new connections. So if you don't already, I'd love it if you'd come find me on Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook and drop me a message to say hello and let me know what you thought of the episode. The link to all my socials are in the show notes. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode or found it useful, then I'd really appreciate it if you could take just a few minutes to give it a review on whatever platform you are listening on, because every one I get really does make me do a little squeal and a big happy dance. Finally, more than anything else, please always remember, realizing that you're not actually meant to do this stuff alone is the first step to making it easier. So I'll see you next time.